I don't see any kids.
There is one? Oh. I don't know if they're a student or not.
This one.
That's what Kylie told me. Let's see one.
Calling the meeting to order. I propose to add the following item to the agenda, becoming item I4 of this regular meeting pursuant to California Government Code Section 54954.2, Section B, Section 2, because there is a need for immediate action which came to the attention of the board after the agenda was prepared. In order to add this item, because 4 of our 5 board members are present, the vote must be unanimous. Action 1.4, I.4, action to authorize the superintendent designee to enter into a contract to provide COVID testing and related services as may be necessary to support students and limit the possible spread of infection at school sites. The contract will then be placed on the next board agenda for ratification. I need a vote. I need somebody to make a
I
motion.
made a motion. I'll second it.
I'm going to do the physical vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Vote carries. Union representatives, California School Employees Association, CSEA, do you have somebody to speak? They're not here. Apple Valley Unified Teachers Association, AVUTA.
Let me see if you can hear me. Is this all right, or can I take it off?
If we have a kid here.
I'm like, just for a second, I'm not around anybody. Good evening, board members and Apple Valley Unified admin. First of all, AVUSD wants to welcome the new board member, Chris Nunez. We look forward to working together with all the board members to make it a great year. Can you believe we made it through 2 whole days of in-person learning? The certificated members are all aglow. Literally, they're aglow because it's so hot outside. And so excited to be with their students again. There were some minor hiccups, AC not working in several classes, an impromptu fire drill, and a site that has 1 woman's bathroom was out of service. However, the general feeling from the teachers is that they missed their students and were glad to be back in person with them. The majority of the teachers were exhausted after each day, but happy that there is some semblance of a normal school year. AVUSD is once again going to be out in the community with our Adopt a Street Community Cleanup Day on Saturday, September 18th from 8:30 to noon. We would like to extend an invitation to all of the board members to come and work beside us. Please let me know if you wish to attend, and I will send you more info, and we'll make sure that if there's more than 2 of you, we have it covered. Other than that, AVUSD is off and running as usual and looks forward to a great school year. Thank you for letting me speak, and have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Raleigh, who is the clerk of the board, is not present today, so we are going to have Mrs. Nelson act as the clerk for the next agenda item. The board may, do you want me to continue? The board may approve the agenda as
No,
is.
I have 2 readouts.
You have 2
I'll
readouts.
do 2 readouts.
In closed session, the Board of Trustees took action in support of the following recommendation from the superintendent. B1, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, reassignment, transfer, leave, certificated and unclassified employees. On a motion by Mr. So and seconded by Mrs. Okpara, the Board of Trustees voted to release classified employee 6946 effective August 6th, 2021, pursuant to the notice of intent to discipline by dismissal dated July 22nd, 2021. And a roll call vote, Mr. Bender, aye. Christopher Nunez, aye. Maria Okpara, aye. Rick Raleigh, absent. Wilson So, aye. In closed session, the Board of Trustees took action in support of the following recommendation from the superintendent. B5, conference with labor negotiator. On a motion by Mr. So, seconded by Mr. Nunez, the Board of Trustees approved the following. Approved the Memorandum of Understanding with the California School Employees Association, CSEA, Chapter 828, dated June 15th, 2021, and June 18th, 2021, regarding prescribed work hours. Mr. Bender, aye. Christopher Nunez, aye. Ms. Okpara, aye. Mr. Raleigh, absent. Mr. So, aye.
The board may approve the agenda as is or add and/or pull items from the consent agenda for discussion and/or action.
So moved to approve.
I'm going to finish. Due to a clerical error, we need to amend the agenda to add item M5, 2021 to 2022 SANDABS membership renewal to the consent agenda, becoming item J34. Now you can move.
So moved. I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The vote carries. Discussion, information, LCAP, Pat Schlosser.
Thank you. There's a presentation, and I'll go through just a couple of slides, and there's an item at your desk. It's a sample of a letter that the board president will receive, and we'll get to that in just a moment. Just an update on the LCAP. It's on the screen, folks behind you, if you want to take a look and follow along. The normal local control accountability plan approval process follows those first 5 bold steps in every other year except for this year. Typically, right now, I'm bringing to you the fact that it's been approved. I've gotten feedback from the county, we've gone back and forth on language, and then it's approved. This year, we have 4 new steps that they've instituted that are there in kind of in that blue font with the red asterisk. There will be a letter to the board president. We will have the opportunity for a possible extension of time. We will submit clarifications to you and then resubmit to the county. So a couple of items about that. Remember that through the spring, we developed this with our stakeholders. What we develop with our stakeholders won't be changing, but the review process is more intense. Our county is following a very strict interpretation of the law when evaluating these LCAPs. And so, 33 districts in the county, we anticipate that every district will receive a clarification letter, which is simply a request for clarification for certain items in the document. This is almost, I think 33 of 33 will get them. Why this year? Extreme scrutiny brought to our county superintendent of schools office. They are the oversight for the LCAP plans for every district. There are advocacy groups out there that are really focused on the use of these funds. Remember, they are supplemental and concentration grant funds designed to be used to increase the quality or quantity of services to the students who generate those funds. Students with low economically disadvantaged students, English learners, or foster youth. They want to see that the items in the plan match the needs of those students. Particular expenses are targeted. For example, the use of those funds to fund the police department. We do not have that particular expenditure in our plan. We do have a police department, but we fund that out of the general fund. So the letter is a standard letter. It will be sent to Ms. Okpara, sitting as our board president. A sample of that letter has been placed at your seat, and it is exactly the form. It simply says they want more clarification. It will require a response within 15 days of receipt. It has to, by statute, it must be sent to the board president by August 15th. We don't know what day it will come, but it will come probably next week. We can request 15 more days because it only gives us 15 days to respond. And the response is the approval by the board of a new clarified LCAP. 15-day extension, if we request it at approximately the 20th of August, will give us plenty of time to bring you a new plan on September 2nd, thereby not having to schedule a special board meeting and giving staff in my department time to write their clarifications. So our timeline, we actually have the preliminary feedback in our possession. We know exactly what they want. It's not a problem. It's all things we can do. This is something we can take care of quite easily. The letter will come, as I mentioned. We are going to work with the board president and the superintendent to request an extension, and on September 2nd, we'll bring you a new plan. Remember that what we're working on has three parts. It's the update to the old plan from 2019-20, the last time we had a true LCAP. It's the update to the 2020-21 learning continuity attendance plan, which unfortunately still spells LCAP. I don't know why they did that, but it's a totally different plan with different requirements. So they want an update on that plan, which is difficult to exactly, we're going to do what they asked, but remember, last year was a very different year. And then, of course, our proposed new LCAP, which we built with our community. All those items need clarification. What exactly are they asking for? What are the changes? They want greater detail in the proposals. They want more explanation about those prior plan documents. A lot of their requested edits have to do with the past. We're writing history. They want greater depth of the explanation of how we're connecting the students and their outcomes to the items in the plan. How is it principally directed to those students generating the funds? How are those students' needs considered first? And what research are we citing to show that that item is well thought out and appropriate? We'll have longer written answers, but let me tell you this, after looking at the feedback, not one goal will change. The intent of the community will not change. We had incredible community input. This plan is strong. It will go forward. We just have work to do. So the next steps for you, wait for the letter. Let me know. Mrs. Nelson is ready to work with Ms. Opar when the letter arrives. We'll request an extension on or about the 20th of August. We'll work on changes, and we'll make sure that before we get them to you, they're already sort of conditionally approved by the county. And then we'll submit them to you on September 2nd, and then within 5 days of that, we'll give them back to the county, at which time Mr. Schulenberg's budget can be approved, and we can move forward with our normal planning processes. So this, we believe, will be the new normal, and now that we know what the target is and exactly what they're looking for, we'll hit this no problem. But every single district in our county is going to go through this process. So we're not unique here. Any questions?
No question from this end. Thank you. AVUSD budget adjustments based on the state adopted budget by Mr. Schulenberg.
Thank you. One moment while I connect with the magic screen. Great, thank you. As you see, Education Code requires us to make any budget adjustments that we're going to make due to the state enacted budget. We have to make those publicly available within 45 days of the state adopted budget. So the deadline for us is August 12th. Of course, we are meeting that deadline by this particular presentation, making those preliminary adjustments public. As you see there on that particular slide, this addresses our local control funding formula, our main source of funding from the state of California. From the May revision and the 5.07% super COLA that Governor Newsom proposed, that COLA was approved in the state adopted budget on June 28, 2001. However, they did make a significant change to the concentration grant portion of the LCFF. The concentration grant is a supplemental grant generated by those students who are eligible for free and reduced meals, foster youth or English learners. They increased that from 50% to 65% of the adjusted LCFF base grant, and we are projecting that's going to increase our concentration grant revenue by about $3.3 million, and we will make that adjustment for first interim. On the federal revenue side, we have our ESSER 3 funding. That's some of our funds allocated under the American Rescue Plan for COVID relief activities. Our allocation was not adjusted, but I did want to bring to the attention that it did clarify some of the compliance related to the ESSER 3 monies from the federal government. The requirement of a safe return plan, which we do have a safe return plan with our COVID-19 safety plan we have in place. An expenditure plan, clarified the fiscal requirements for the 20% spend on addressing the impact of lost instructional time, and of course it does have a community engagement requirement. On a state revenue, we had a significant bump to our special education revenue via our SELPA, our Special Education Local Plan area. It did not receive the super COLA, but it did receive what the governor refers to as the compounded COLA, an additional $397 million augmentation, $450 million targeted on learning recovery support for our students with disabilities, and then $100 million for alternative dispute resolution. These funds do not flow directly to Apple Valley Unified, they flow to our SELPA, and that SELPA then disperses those funds accordingly or utilizes those funds for these specific programs. The enacted budget did create some new programs too. The first we call the ELOP, or the Expanded Learning Opportunity Program, allocated $1.8 billion across the state for comprehensive expanded learning programs, really targeted at our elementary students. Our estimated funding for this optional program is $3.5 million. A couple of the caveats I want to mention: it does require, during the regular school year, it requires 175 days of expanded learning opportunity that total, at minimum, a 9-hour school day for the students. And it also does require 30 days during breaks and intercessions of 9 hours of instruction. Some one-time funding programs. The governor brought back the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant. We are to coordinate with our Title II federal funding for professional development for all of our teachers and classified employees. We do not have an allocation as it's listed to be determined up there. That does require a plan to spend that money, and it is available to us over several years to spend. We have the A to G Completion Improvement Grant. There is also a plan required. This addresses the college readiness for our students, completing the UC CSU A to G requirements. Our estimated allocation is approximately $1.1 million. Again, we do have multiple years to spend that money. The governor had allocated some money across the state to begin a universal meals service program for students. We do not know if we are going to get any allocation related to that, so we're to be determined. But I would like to remind the board that we already do participate in the National School Lunch Program Community Eligibility Provision, which provides free breakfast and free lunch to all students attending Apple Valley Unified Schools. We did also receive, or we are going to receive, approximately $143,000 for the Universal Transitional Kindergarten Planning and Implementation Grant. Over the next 5 years, transitional kindergarten is going to expand to essentially a whole nother grade level where all 4-year-olds will be eligible to enroll in transitional kindergarten. Some additional impacts out of the state budget, not necessarily fiscal or budget related. One has to do with the local control accountability plan that Mr. Schlosser just spoke about. There is an LCAP supplement that will be due here in the coming months related to that increase in the concentration grant money that I spoke of earlier. There is also a new requirement for the carryover and the calculation of any carryover, comparing the shortfalls between planned expenditures and actual expenses. And that will take effect in the next budget year, 22-23. Governor Newsom did propose, and the legislature did approve, the elimination of all prior deferrals. So all of the cash deferrals that we were going to be experiencing over the next several months, or that we did experience over the last several months and would have been experiencing the repayment over the next several months will all be repaid in the month of August. And last but not least, on this particular page, the reserve cap. The reserve cap will be instituted, it will be implemented in the 2022-23 adopted budget, which means our budget reserve is not allowed to be more than 10% of our annual expenditures. Some expense highlights. Any pending negotiation settlements with our bargaining units are not included until they are actually ratified by both the bargaining unit and the board. They did reduce the unemployment insurance contribution for us from 1.23% of payroll to about 0.5% of payroll, and that was a reduction on that expense line of about $500,000. Those are the major highlights. Any questions? Thank you.
Kylie, do we have any public comments? Okay.
Total of 11.
Okay.
7 of those 11 are the same topic, which will hit the maximum 20 minutes per topic. So any additional, I'll be able to assist you after if it covers that topic that is not already received.
As provided on our public comments card, speakers are required to limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. If more than one person wishes to speak on the same topic, subsequent speakers should limit their remarks to new information only. Public comments shall be limited to a maximum of 20 minutes per item. In a situation where we have additional public comments and have exceeded the 20-minute maximum time per topic, members of our community will be able to submit electronic public comments to Kylie, K-I-L-E-E, _Caudell, CAUDELL, at avusd.org by Monday, August 9th, 2021 at 12 p.m. These public comments will be publicly posted and distributed to all members of the Board of Trustees. An information card with this information is available at the sign-in table. Tracy Mascora.
I'm just having her come for support. She's not going to speak.
Can you speak into the mic, please?
Okay, sorry. My name is Tracy Mascoro. I am the Vice President of the Booster Club for Granite Hills Touchdown Club, which is the football team there. I know there's a lot of parents that are here for support for let the students and parents decide whether they want the mask. I know I'm not speaking on that, but I do support them as well. But what I am here for is I have 2 students that are at Granite Hills currently. One a sophomore, which just got out of football practice, so he couldn't be here. And then this is my freshman that is there. We are in support of the team getting their own stadium because currently they are sharing a stadium, and we know that land has been purchased, and we're trying to help push that a little bit more. I have not experienced anything, but I have heard several stories that make me feel really bad for our team, and I don't want my student to go through that this year in regards to sharing a locker room or not being allowed to use a locker room, even though it's considered their home. Also being heckled while they're on campus because it's not their home, being told that that's not their home, that obviously is going to make their morale very low. And it doesn't really make them want to do very well when they're playing. So I'm just here to support. I know there's going to be more parents at the next one, but I couldn't make it. So I just wanted to kind of put it out there to let you know we are all supporting our team, and we really think that they deserve, after 21 years, especially now that we're getting a lot more students, 21 years, we deserve our own stadium. That's it.
Thank you. Matthew Dalmar.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Matthew Ballmer. I have two children in the AVUSD school system.
Matthew,
second
can
and
you
fourth
raise the
grade.
mic a little bit?
Oh, yeah? Better? So I have two kids, second and fourth grader. I've lived in Apple Valley since 2014. And I just want to start by acknowledging the board and superintendents for, doing their best fighting to keep the schools open and getting the kids back in school, in-person learning, despite the crazy circumstances and bureaucracy they face over the last year and a half, really. I just can't imagine what it's been like to be in your shoes, to go through all the decisions that you've had to make. And so that's why I'm here, really, just learn more about the process and have a better understanding of what it's like to make those decisions, so that I can better participate in that process. And of course, I'm here to say my piece about some concerns. But first, the district staff, again, the teachers and admin, if you didn't know that they were out on campus yesterday, they're just very committed. Every teacher and admin staff that I've met at the schools have been very generous people. And it's just, I want to acknowledge that, again, they're doing the best they can. And I really believe they're just in the best hands possible. But I believe that we can do better. Okay. And so what possibly could my concerns be with that being said, knowing that they're in such good hands? Primarily the things I can't control, or we can't control, right? We can interact with our kids. I can mitigate the effects and those relationships as a parent with their classes and their teachers and their friends. I can opine at school board meetings. I can spend time with them before and after school, and I can guide my kids through the craziest of times, the easy and the rough. So regardless of how crazy those times can be, those are my concerns. How crazy are times going to be? And how bad are we going to let it get before we make some hard decisions as leaders here? Who is shaping the world that they're going to be growing up in? Is it Weingarten and the NEA doubling down to fight any opposition? Is it just the state teachers unions pulling strings in Sacramento? Apparently, as great as the district is and the school staff is, the leverage here that you have is limited. Or is it? I'm concerned with the limited leverage that we have as representative governments go. And we have our school board leaders here. Are you going to continue to cave to this woke corporate fascism that's taken over, the new revolution of dividing and conquer, mandates?
If I may add, you have
Policy.
exceeded your time,
I
sir.
will submit the rest, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, yeah.
Erica Lancaster.
I'm a parent.
Can you speak into the mic, please? Thank
I'm a
you.
parent of AVUSD students, 3. I'm here about the mask mandate and AVUSD's decision to enforce the recommendation from the CDC. The CDC's data is clear. School-aged children are at virtually zero risk to catch, spread, or die from COVID-19. 80% of COVID-related deaths were people over the age of 65, and 30% of those were people over the age of 85. Children are not at risk and should not be forced to wear masks. Just days ago, top COVID task force infectious disease expert said on mainstream media news outlet that masks are ineffective this is a quote, ineffective at reducing movement in or out of viruses. While they are ineffective at keeping viruses in or out, they are extremely effective at harboring bacteria, which can and does easily lead to bacterial pneumonia. In fact, the majority of deaths during the 1918 influenza pandemic were caused by bacterial pneumonia. Our children's mental health also matters. Suicide is the second leading cause of death of younger children, and it's doubled the attempts in the last year. Because of the health dangers caused by prolonged periods of mask wearing, our children's educational development will also suffer. It's difficult enough to have a simple conversation with anyone while wearing a mask. Imagine how difficult it is to learn or to teach with the mask on. It seems our children's mental and educational and developmental health was of little, if any, concern when the district decided they were going to go along with the CDC's recommendation to enforce the masks in our classrooms. It's apparent this decision was based on the irrational fear and appeasement of a small few, which seems to be an epidemic in our leadership in our country anyways. No one is more concerned about my children's health than me. Nobody in this room and nobody in the world. As parents, we hold our children's best interest at heart, not the government. I ask today that the AVUSD, in Mr. Schlosser's words, enforce the law strictly, our constitutional rights, and defend those of our children's, and immediately suspend the mask requirement in Apple Valley's classrooms. Requiring masks in our classrooms will put our children's physical and mental health at a greater risk than COVID-19 ever will. Thank you.
Thank you. Tricia Morrison. We need Tricia Morrison, please.
Hello. Thank you. I didn't write anything tonight. I actually came with a few numbers for you, San Bernardino County numbers, that show us that the mask mandate is nonsense. But my biggest topic first is how Ms. Trinae Nelson dealt with it. I would like to know how many emails you received from the parents. We stood up for our children. We stood up for our community. We asked for help, and we were not given it. We weren't responded to correctly. We were not given an opportunity to be heard. And that's all we're asking for. We did not ask you to veto anything. We asked you to address it with the board and the district, whoever you need to get involved. And that was not given to us. We were told you would push it off over to some political people. That's not how this works. I looked up the superintendent job application or the job description. Your job is to deal with these people, and it was not done. We have a right to speak up for our children. Our children do not need to wear masks. According to the numbers show that it is more harm than it is help. And the one thing, I'm not even gonna go through all this, you have over 309,000 confirmed COVID cases. Over 300,000 of those have been resolved. Only 0.06% of those are deaths in our county, and children deaths, 3 in San Bernardino County. And this is going back a year and a half. This isn't just the last 6 months. Our numbers are showing that we went from 60.1% to 0.4% deaths. That is since January. Since January, when our kids have been unmasked at Target, at the bounce houses, wherever they're going, they're with friends, they're with people, they're constantly in large groups. Target, for heaven's sakes, Walmart, wherever you go shopping. Our children are not in masks until they walk into a classroom, and then they're told, you need to be structured, you need to follow our rules, you need to do what we say. Why are we putting government control on children? I am their parents, and just like it was said before, what I feel is best for my child should be acknowledged. It should not be based on what you feel is best for my child. And just one last thing, there are several children that I know personally, 3, that cannot return to school because they have now been diagnosed with anxiety disorder from wearing masks. I have 2 friends that have children that are hard of hearing, and they need to read your lips, and they can't do that now. They're struggling, and they don't understand it as much as we try to teach it to them at their age, what they can understand. I have a 10-year-old, I have a 15-year-old.
I'm
My
sorry, your
10-year-old
time
doesn't
is
get
up.
it.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Bowes.
Thank you. I'm going to skip over some stuff since I only have about 3 minutes, but I'd like to talk about my daughter real quick. I'm a single father. She's 8 years old. She's on her 2nd year at Sitting Bull as a 3rd grader in Mrs. Roberts' class. Amazing student, winning scholar awards, excelling at every subject, praised by all our teachers as one of the best students, helpful and enjoyed to have in class. She was so excited to start school again, have a set schedule where she could be physically at school, learning and making new friends. As soon as the school sent out the letter that the students would have to wear masks, she immediately became down and asked why. We didn't have to wear them in stores, at gymnastics, and even at the end of our summer trip to Knott's Berry Farm and SeaWorld. I told her that I would come here today to talk to those that were in charge and can make a difference. So let's start with a recent article in the New York Post, which highlights a study by the McKinsey Group. A study out of the UK released last week proved once again what we have known for more than a year. Kids transmit COVID virus at much lower rate than do adults. An epidemiologist who led it found that children aren't taking the virus home and then transferring it to the community. These kids have a very little capacity to infect household members, and concluded that last year's school closures left students on average 5 months behind in mathematics, 4 months in reading by the end of the school year. States that with open schools didn't have more child COVID cases and certainly not more hospitalizations or deaths. Schools without mask mandates didn't have significantly more COVID cases. They simply put kids first. So let's look at the statistics. I know we talked about this already, but in the county of San Bernardino, the age group from 0 to 14, there have been 28,190 cases, and of those, only 2 deaths. I know she mentioned this. Kids at that age have a 99.993% chance of surviving COVID if they get it. If you jump that number up to the 19-year-old, so 4 to 19, there's been 3 more deaths, 5 total. Again, 99.99% chance of surviving if they even get it. I'm going to try to go fast again, I'm sorry. So what are we doing here? And how did we get to this point? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. These kids are having to wear masks indoors, but then playing together outside, eating lunch together, hanging out after school. They are participating in extracurricular activities with physical contact and have been for months. Businesses have been open, restaurants, gyms, and this is not about health. It's about control and submission. We should not let our government that is 100 miles away, state government, dictate to us how we should be running our schools. To be honest, we shouldn't even have the county tell us. We are our own community up here in the high desert. We know what is best for us, and we shouldn't be making decisions, and we should be making the decisions on the local level. Deferring to the California Department of Health guidelines is an easy way out for all of you. You have to make a decision. I'm asking you to stand up and do what's right for our kids, their families, and this community. We should not allow a blanket decision from the state to rule our lives. The school board should be partnering with parents. Let us make the decisions on safety and health together on our own children. That is our primary responsibility.
Thank you.
To make sure they are
time's
safe.
up. Your time's up.
I will submit the rest of my time.
Mary Cruz Solis. Solis. Yeah.
How you doing? Doing good.
Is that Solis?
Oh.
Yes, Solis, Mary Luz? Yes, you. Yeah, it was a female name.
Hi, my name is Mary Cruz Solis.
Can you pull the mic
Here to
closer?
talk about the mask again. Pretty sure everybody is. So it's just so nauseating talking about this still, a year and a half. So I'm not here to tell you the facts and rant and rage over how upsetting all this is. You already know the facts. You know in your heart of hearts that this is wrong. Instead, I'm here to let you know that I am praying for all of you. Every single day, I will pray that God may give you the discernment and the courage to stand for what is right. Thank you.
Monica King.
Good evening. Ooh, sorry. Good evening, everybody. My name is Monica, and I'm a mother of 2 boys in the Apple Valley School District. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me start by saying I'm so glad to have our children back in school. Thank you all so much for fighting to open our schools and to get our kids in the classroom. Last year was rough on everyone, and both of my kids were affected deeply by distance learning, as were many others. Not seeing their friends, all the shutdowns, etc. So we're just so grateful to be open today. I myself am here to talk about masks. Let me start by saying, with all I've heard from everyone that I've spoken with in the school district, nonstop are the words, "There's nothing I can do, my hands are tied, I don't have a choice." No, I don't buy that. We always have a choice. And right now, you are all choosing to comply with these unjustified mandates and look the other way, while our children suffer. Today, I was called into the school because my son went to the office to pick up the mask that I had brought him. I tried to send him without one. Apparently, our mask wasn't good enough. He was offered one of their masks. He told them he couldn't wear that mask and wouldn't go back into the classroom because he had to wear one the day before. And he said he couldn't breathe and it made him sick. I was so proud of him. My son is shy and he stood up for himself. I can't believe what's happening to these children. They told him to take a mask break. He said no. He wasn't going to wear one and he wouldn't return to class with one. I'm just so proud of him. My son has trouble breathing. He's only mildly asthmatic, but these masks have given him major anxiety when he can't breathe. And he doesn't even have it that badly. I can't fathom what some of the other children are feeling from having to wear these masks. Children with disabilities, anxiety, asthma. In the 2018-2019 flu season, 477 children died of the regular flu. We haven't even reached 400 that have died from all the variants combined. So where were the masks then? Where were the mandates? Where was the outrage? Not to mention the flu completely has vanished. You say your hands are tied, but so are mine now, and you have backed parents into a corner and forced them against their will to restrict their own child's breathing for 6 hours a day. Well, what about the staff? Let's protect them. When I walked into that building to bring my child a mask, not one of them was wearing a mask, and they all popped them on right when I walked in. Excuse me? Does my child get to take his mask off in the building when he feels like he can't breathe and he's sick? Does he? I'm done with it all. Sorry. When I walked in here, all of you guys were chatting mask-free as well and applied your masks. So I just don't get it at this time. I'm tired. We're all tired. This is only going to get worse if we roll over, keep complying, and allow these ridiculous mandates to continue. We have to stand up for my children, for all your children, for all of your children, for all of our children. I understand COVID is serious and teachers should be protected. They have the option to double mask vaccinate if they choose. They can wear a face shield. They can work from home. My child's mental health and physical health isn't going to be sacrificed for the comfort of staff. Lastly, emergency issued mandates are not law, and no establishment can deny us services for not covering our face. And do you know why?
Your time is up.
Because we live in the
Thank you.
United States of America. Thank you very much.
Pam McKay.
Hi, is this okay? Volume wise? Okay. My name is Pam McKay. I am not a parent of any children in this district, but I've taught in the area for a long time as a professor at Victor Valley College, professor of microbiology. And I'm here to talk about the masks just for a minute, and then I have some other concerns as well. The masks are, I think, at this point, a political tool. The masks are not effective at stopping viruses. It's plain and simple. In microbiology, I taught my students the size of virus virions. When they're out of the body, they're called virions, right? And they are measured in angstroms, which are fractions, thousands of micrometers, which are the size of bacteria. A mask might stop some bacteria. A mask is not going to stop a virus. A mask is like wearing, it's analogous to having a chain link fence to keep out mosquitoes. If somebody has COVID, the virus is going to be in their breath. It's not just in respiratory droplets. If somebody has it, it's going to pass right through the mask and be transmitted, plain and simple. It's biology. Okay, another thing that I'm concerned about, and I'm really glad you guys opened up the schools here, but I'm also concerned that you have given into mask mandates without understanding the science, perhaps. I'm wondering what else you'll give into. The state education board has mandated that schools teach gender studies programs that are not biological. In biology, we teach there are two genders generally. There are very few exceptions when people are born with different odd numbers of chromosomes, but in general, by far the majority, there's male and there's female. And you have gender studies programs that are going to teach children that there are 58 different genders. It's just biologically wrong, okay? There's also, and I think it's morally wrong as well. I think it's equivalent to child abuse to teach a kid that he could, a child that they could change gender and take hormones the rest of their life to promote that. It just seems wrong. Also, I'm concerned about the teaching of critical race theory because I think it teaches, I hope the board does not adopt that. I think it teaches people to hate each other, and I think that's wrong. Everybody's life is important, everybody's equal. And I'm also concerned about the distortion of history with the 1619 project. And I would urge this board not to adopt any of those policies and perhaps really think about changing that mask policy as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Cody Sarlos.
All right. How you doing? Kind of new to the whole parenting. My son started TK yesterday, and he's been so excited for the last 6 months to start school. Today, he didn't want to go to school. He had to wear the mask. Yesterday was the first time he has ever worn a mask in his entire life. And waking up this morning and saying, I don't want to go to school, broke my heart because he loves learning, loves being around people. And that's really the main reason I came here. I don't have a big speech or anything. If I'm allowed to allot my time, I'd like to give it to Brian Bauer so he can continue speaking because I know he had a little more to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, I'm sorry, I have to make that, no, not yet. Mike Arroyas.
I'll try to get through this without crying, but as much as I wanted to show up in my nice clothes, and I was donating half of my day hanging sponsorship banners in varsity with hanging sponsorship banners and varsity senior volleyball banners at the Apple Valley High School right now. All these girls are so excited to be back playing the game they love. I was born and raised in Apple Valley. I run a very successful business in the Valley. I'm on the Town of Apple Valley Planning Commission. I've ran my homeowners association for a few years, and I voted for you guys. I support you guys. These kids have already been robbed of learning, social interaction, sports, and activities over the last year and a half. I'm already hearing talks of possibility no spectators for indoor sports, or they may even get shut down. You were voted by the citizens to represent us, and us are here. And asking you to make sure our kids stay in school for in-person learning, sports, and activities. If you should choose to start to restrict any of these things that are in your control, I will make sure I spend every second of every day to rally every parent in this district to peacefully protest in front of your business, in front of your houses. So help me God.
Crystal Holloway.
Hello, I'm a mother of two boys that go to Sitting Bull Academy. One a fifth grader and a preschooler that just started. My son, Cole, at 3 years old, was diagnosed with severe, I'm getting so nervous, severe to profound hearing loss. We've been waiting a long time for speech therapy because it's all closed. It's all been closed. They're all shut down due to COVID. And so he's finally starting school. And now wearing masks pulls on his ears, and he wears hearing aids. And every time he turns his head, he hears a high-pitched sound, like when a microphone gets too close to a speaker. And so he doesn't want to wear them. And they said they're going to try face shields, which also can mess with his ears. And it's just frequent, high-pitched sound, which he already can't hear, so it's so distracting. I'm so concerned with his verbal skills. Because how can he learn from a teacher who has their mouth covered? He already has a problem hearing, and he has delayed speech. He needs to see mouths to understand what people are saying. That's like half of how he learns. And so I don't have a solution to this, but I'm just been so worried for months since we got his diagnosis. And we, as parents, we need help with our kids to not have any more delays. So please, I'm just begging for help with that. Thank you.
Thank you to all the speakers. Superintendent's comments.
The first thing I want to say is, whether you believe that I am advocating for your children or not, I have been advocating for your children. There is no local control on this matter. Whether you believe it or not, it is a mandate that all districts are required to follow. I have participated and continue to participate in something called the San Bernardino County District Advocates for Better Schools. I'm an elected official to that board, and I speak to the elected officials at the state level and at the federal level. Without that time, I don't get to advocate on behalf of anything without writing letters like you as people sitting in the audience. The CDPH is the government code that causes us to hold this line. They've given us two mandates. The masks must be worn inside. The question about masks, Outside versus inside, and inside when no students are here are very different. The minute a child walks into a room, and we've had legal response to this, including board meetings, means I have to put a mask on regardless of vaccination status. That's why indoors, when we see children walk in, we are required to do so. The second piece to this is that after they made the mandate about masks, they then told us that the requirement to isolate and send students home would not happen if we had masks on inside the classroom. So in the past 2 days, we have had 4 COVID cases positive on 3 campuses, and we have not had to send students home. I understand the science that you've presented today, and I would advocate on telling you that you are welcome to write the letters. You can say that it was ridiculous for me to send them to the elected officials. However, that's the next step. The elected officials are the ones that I advocate to change the laws and the rules that we are governed by. I am governed by state, federal, OSHA, just like any other employer. And so beyond all of it, our goal is to keep kids in classrooms. If the mandate changes because of the advocacy of parents across this state, that's how things have changed in the other states. The governor has taken a role in saying it's not required. But until that happens, I still have rules and regulations I have to follow. And you can shake your head and tell me that I don't. And I am sorry that I have to be the person that will say that. The parent that said that I was not asked to veto, I received 60 emails. Some of them were from husbands and from wives. Some of them were a form letter that at the bottom said, this is what I would write, or change it if you'd like, and they never removed that. So there was a request that I veto, and I was trying to respond to all in a group so that we could get schools open. So if any of you believe that I have not done what I need to do, I'm sorry. I will continue to try to keep our schools open. That's my goal, full time. Thank you.
Thank you. Board comments? We have a brand new board member, so today we're going to give him the option to get started. Mr. Christopher Nunez.
I would just like to say thank you so much for coming out and giving me the opportunity to hear you. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate the fact that you are here to advocate for your students. It is going to be important now and throughout their entire career. So thank you for that.
Mr. So.
No, I'm going to echo what Mr. Nunez just said. And I think I have grandchildren in school too, taught. And I'm tremendous sympathy for your concerns. And as Ms. Nelson pointed out, if you want to give us letters, maybe what we need to do is provide those collective letters to the officials, state officials that mandated these requirements. And definitely, I know, as I said, I have grandchildren in the school district, not here, but in the Torrance School District. And I know they are impacted by the mask requirement. So, but we're going to work with you and we'll provide information to the state officials. Thank you.
Mr. Bender.
I want to thank you for being here. You speak from the heart. We should have held this meeting tomorrow on August the 6th. That would have been the 76th anniversary of dropping the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. It would have fit right in.
And as your board president, I am going to now speak. I just want you to know that I heard everything you had to say today, every one of them. My heart was broken for the special needs parent who had the issue with the hearing. We're going to look into that one because that's important for us to look into. Everything that you have to say, I would suggest that you write to your state and other representatives so that they can hear you as well. We do hear you. I hear you. You're very, very important in the life of our district. So we really want you to continue to advocate for your children, but to understand that we are going to do our own best on our side to see what can happen in the local forum. I thank you all for coming out today. and I hope you never give up. And then one more thing, I had the opportunity to go out to the schools yesterday and ride along with the superintendent to all of the schools except Granite Hills, because by the time I contacted her, she already made it to Granite Hills. But I went to all of the schools. The students were engaged. The teachers were ready. The school looked as though we were just ready. We are going to continue to work. We are work in progress. I tell people that each time they tell me I have gained weight, and I tell them I'm work in progress. So we are still working. Don't give up. That's what we can only ask of you. And the superintendent is doing the best she can and reporting back to us. So when she reports back to us, we ask her further questions. I'm going to let you know she has given it her all. We'll just keep working at it, and someday this will all be over. Thank you so much for coming to this meeting today. Yes. I need a motion to adjourn to the public meeting of the Apple Valley. Okay, let me wait. That's the next one. This is this special meeting, public facilities.
You do it right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your master kids are gone. Good, good. Going in. Okay. Good, good. What are you doing?
Okay.
We're gonna try and get through this shit.
We have Jason? I'm still on, right? I need a motion to adjourn to a public meeting of the Apple Valley Unified School District Public Facilities Corporation for a new business as deemed necessary.
So move.
Second.
Okay. You need to write that down. You write that down. Who moved that? Seconded.
She's got it.
I need a vote. Mr. Bender?
Yes.
You can ask a one single vote, all in favor.
It's just the three of us that vote, because that's what it is, right? It's the three of us.
It's,
Not four. The four of us votes.
yes,
Mr. Bender is.
Mr. Bender conducts the meeting.
Conducts this meeting,
So you
taking roll
just
call.
Roll call.
take a vote. Well,
I'm
wait a
here.
minute. Wait.
No.
Mr.
Raleigh's
Bender?
absent. Wilson?
Here.
Maria?
Present.
Chris is here. All right. Action item, public.
I need a vote to adjourn so we can get into the Public Facilities Corporation. You have a motion, you have a second, we didn't get a vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed? Thank you. And the time is 7:35.
Now we're at Public Facility Corporation.
Yeah, well, we got it
Dennis,
going.
take over.
We've done the roll already. We're not
Action
gonna do it again.
items.
Didn't do it again.
We go to action items.
Public Facilities Corporation. Number one, authorize the filing of the annual registration renewal fee, RRF-1, and the annual traders report, CT-TR-1, forms with the Attorney General's Registry of Charitable Trusts. You have a motion?
I move.
I second.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thought I was supposed to
Well,
run.
actually, he's running.
He's running the meeting because you're in
So
the
you're
public
running the
facilities.
meeting. Go on, Brenda.
All right, that's all right. We're gonna adjourn, what time? No clock.
7:36.
We need a clock. What time?
7:36 PM.
Okay. All right, we're done.
Yes.
We hereby convene the regular meeting, again, discussion action session. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees discuss and take action on the following items. Approve the certificated and classified personnel actions as listed. I need a motion.
So move.
Any second?
Second.
Yeah.
Mr. Nunez is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? approve the requested leaves as noted. I need a motion. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Authorize the termination of the use agreement between the Apple Valley Unified School District and the High Desert Youth Soccer League, and direct staff to notify the High Desert Youth Soccer League of such action. I need a motion.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Action to authorize the superintendent designate to enter into a contract to provide COVID testing and related services as may be necessary to support students and limit the possible spread of infection at school sites. The contract will then be placed on the next board agenda for ratification. Before we take a vote, Trina Nelson would like to explain and address the need for immediate action.
Now that the audience is left and we have no students in the room, the rule
You
for
don't-
inside masking is if you are vaccinated, no mask required. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew. On this item, we are asking that you allow us to look at a contract with an outside provider to do what is listed based on the current situation with positive COVID cases with students. We would like our staffs not to be required to have to go away from their normal work duties, and this would allow us to contract with an outside agency to take care of our isolation rooms if we have any students with symptoms, and then follow up with the testing and contact tracing.
Okay. I need a motion. I move.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees consider approving a number of agenda items as a consent list. Consent items are routine in nature and can be enacted in one motion without further discussion. This procedure conserves meeting time for a full discussion of significant issues. The consent items to be approved in one motion are as follows: 1 through 34.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I just go, whoo, through the blank.
No staff reports.
All right, I need a motion to go to close, superintendent's comments. Closing items.
I just wanted to thank the staffs and all of the families that returned to our schools yesterday. The joy and the laughter, and every student that I passed today and asked how yesterday was indicated it was wonderful, and I wish them a wonderful day today. I know that there are some hiccups going on having to do with traffic and drop off and pickup, which is normal the first week of school, the first few days of school specifically. Those will start getting better as people get back in the habit of how we deliver students and pick them up. Once people start recognizing who the cars belong to and which student belongs with which parents, it goes much faster. So I know today was even faster than yesterday. So, be patient, but the joy of having them back on campus and keeping us open is here. So thank you.
Mr. Nunez.
Thank you so much. To all of our staff and faculty across the district, as the newest board member, I just want to say thank you. Welcome back. I hope you're as excited as all of us are. I had the great pleasure of taking my son yesterday to his very first day of fourth grade and walking him up to the front door. And I can't think of anything that could possibly have brought me greater joy. So I hope that sentiment is shared across our district from our parents, and we keep at the forefront what is truly important right now. So thank you all, and let's keep on the work.
Mr. So.
I don't have a lot to say, but I just want to thank all our staff for coming. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Bender.
No, glad everything went good.
And then me, I think we did good. yesterday. I can't wait to start going back to the schools, and I'm still waiting to get the jerseys so that, or the shirts, so that I can advertise you guys at the board meetings. And I can't wait. I really can't wait for the students to start coming to the board meetings and presenting to us the great things they are doing at school. I need to take this opportunity to thank all of the staff that helped make this opening a success, especially the people that are at the district office. I didn't know if they took a vacation or not, because I would come into the district and somebody would be here. But I want to extend sincere gratitude to the district staff, sincere gratitude to the teachers who knew school was going to start, and they started working long before, and the classified staff, especially the school bus drivers. They have a task on their hands, and I truly, truly appreciate them. Thank you so much for a great start.
I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Signing of documents, we need to sign approved documents. Do we have documents to sign? Then I move that we adjourn the meeting and then go for the signing. Anybody?
You need a second.
I need a second.
Mr. Bender motioned. You can second.
I seconded.
And then
All
you
in
need a vote.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, meeting adjourned.